Good afternoon, and welcome to this session on how to bring the power of generative AI to your employees with Amazon Q. You're here today because you recognize that productivity in today's very competitive marketplace is crucial. Imagine having a secure generative AI assistant that can help your team not just understanding, but also leveraging your company's enterprise proprietary data to provide tailored assistance, answer questions, and boost productivity. I am Anna Griebler, and today with my colleague Deba, we will be showing you how you can use Amazon Q to achieve these results. We will start by sharing with you some important features of Amazon Q. Then we will go into some demos so you can see Amazon Q in action. And we will end with some customer success stories. The future of work is coming, and it is with Amazon Q. And I just realized I don't have my clicker. Apologies for that. Now, imagine you have a marketing manager that can very easily use generative AI to create ad copies in minutes instead of hours. Or a sales manager that can access all the client information in a summarized way just before a meeting in order to provide the right insights. Or an engineer and a developer that can write better, more secure code faster with the use of a generative AI assistant. Or a help desk employee that can very easily access both your organizational documentation as well as the customer information in order to directly answer their questions. A McKinsey study has shown that generative AI has the capability to accelerate and automate and simplify tasks that take up 25% of your employees' time during the day. That's 2 hours during the day. That's a lot of hours. And this is because generative AI has the capability to understand and respond in natural language, which is something that allows your employees to interact with this technology in a very natural way. Generative AI is a transformative technology. It will transform the way we work, it transform the way we create, and it will do that across all verticals and all industries and all roles. And this is a transformation that we need to embrace. But generative AI applications also present challenges, especially those applications that are based on systems that rely on general knowledge. And the main issue there, the primary issue, is that they lack the context of your organization. They don't know your operation, they don't know your data, and because of this, they are not able to provide as relevant a recommendation as you could have. These models also don't truly understand who you are when you are at work. What is your role? What are your priorities? What are the constraints within which you work? And what is the data you can access? And let's not forget about privacy and compliance. When you use a generative AI assistant, you want to make sure that you're keeping data security, that you are keeping your customer trust, and that you are not infringing on any regulatory compliance. To address all these challenges, AWS launched Amazon Q last year. Amazon Q is now generally available and soon to be available in European AWS regions. Amazon Q is a generative AI assistant that aims to make organizational information accessible to every one of your employees. You simply point Amazon Q at your enterprise data and at your code repositories, and this can help all your business users access this data in a secure and easy-to-interact manner. Amazon Q is also available where you work, across multiple AWS products and services. Amazon Q Business has outperformed published results by other assistants on correctness, truthfulness, and helpfulness in general QA tasks using the multi-hub RAG dataset, as well as in industries like finance using the FIQA dataset, and technology using the LOTTE dataset. Amazon Q includes multiple products, and these products serve different personas and different use cases. Amazon Q Business is a generative AI-powered assistant that can answer questions, summarize information, provide summaries, generate additional content, and interact with other applications. Amazon Q developers harnesses the power of generative AI to help accelerate your software development lifecycle and help you get quicker to market. Amazon Q developer can work in the AWS console, in the CLI, in your IDE, or even in applications such as Slack. Amazon Q in QuickSight enhances your business productivity using generative business intelligence to help you make business decisions faster. Amazon Q in Connect helps your contact center representative have all the knowledge of your organization and your customers at their fingertips in order to better answer the questions. And Amazon Q in AWS Supply Chain, when available, will unify data and provide machine learning-powered actionable insights to build contextual information and demand planning. In today's presentation, we're going to dive deep into Amazon Q for Business. Now let me show you what Amazon Q for Business looks like for the end user. First, you will log in using your single sign-on by your identity provider. And the first capability of Amazon Q is the ability for you to communicate with it in natural language, ask it questions, and get the answer. But you will not only get the answer. You will get the summarized sentence, and then for each sentence in every information, you will get a link to the source. This will allow you to go and both verify the information, but also get additional context if you want to find the original document. And also, just like a natural conversation, Amazon Q will keep the context of what is happening. So if I've asked a question, I can then ask a follow-up question. Or I can then ask it to summarize the information or to perform additional tasks. And here is also where I would like to introduce one of the first new features that are now available now that Amazon Q is generally available. And this is index boosting. Index boosting allows you, the administrator of your system, to boost particular fields or attributes of your data so that they are more predominant in the results. This can be something that can help, for example, to surface latest information. For example, if you have a document that has labeled latest. Or if you want to prioritize documents by a certain author, for example, the documents that come from leadership or from the security team. We identified early on that one of the biggest hindrances for organization was that their developers were not able to keep up with the fast-paced demands of the business, because creating an application, developing it, deploying it, and then maintaining it can take a long time. This is the Amazon Q administrator view. The Amazon Q strives to minimize the burden on the administrator by providing a simplified way to create and maintain an application, all in a managed console. Amazon Q has the built-in vector index that allows you to take your data and index it in order to be able to answer questions with your data. It is integrated with your identity providers so that you can make sure that only the allowed users have access to the right information and not information they're not allowed to see, as well as configure guardrails that allow you to promote additional security. You can set up Amazon Q in 3 steps. The first step, you create the application. The second step, you ingest the data. And the third step, you deploy the web experience. You can build very accurate retrieval augmented generation workflows with Amazon Q. And now, with Amazon Q being generally available, we also have the Amazon Q business template for AWS Cloud Formation, which will allow you to create and provision infrastructure in our infrastructure as code in order to make it replicable and also have a better control. Now, one advantage that Amazon Q has is that it has a native connector framework. This is a framework that is connected to the most popular enterprise systems, such as AWS, Microsoft, Salesforce, and even Google products, among others. This removes the complexity of building and maintaining the integrations with these systems, which alleviates the burden on your developers because they can just point Amazon Q at the data and using the plugin access this data. This will accelerate your team's time to market. Now, in your organizations, usually your data is scattered across multiple systems and multiple silos. So it means that your team would normally not only be maintaining one connector or a crawler, but multiple ones. And also the ability to crawl, ingest, and also keep up to date the data is something that is not trivial. Also building a connector that also respects the security of these different applications and keeps in mind who has access to what data. And also keeping this access control list updated while maintaining the sync schedule and make sure that always the latest version of a document is what is in the data that is provided by Q. This is something that can be time-consuming and requires ongoing maintenance. Now, because Amazon Q has all these pre-built connectors, this eliminates this heavy lifting. And also, you are able to crawl your data, extract the text, but also access all the metadata, all the access controlled list, in order to make sure that when Amazon Q answers questions, it answers both accurately and securely. But there is additional complexity. For example, many data sources, for example, SharePoint or Slack, they have their own internal local user groups that have access, only to certain information. And this is not something that is provided usually by your identity provider. So this lives within the application. These built-in connectors are also able to crawl this data and ingest it so that each employee can only see the data they're allowed to see. Finally, with Amazon Q, you can schedule periodic sync operations, which means that your data is updated so that if documents are modified or added to the corpus, these are also ingested and available for your employees to get answers from. Now, I told you about the first security of Amazon Q, which is each employee only has access to the data they're allowed to see. However, when you think of security, this goes beyond access. It also includes what is the type of topics that you can handle, and what is the type of language that is allowed in your application. First, administrators in using Amazon Q can limit so that Amazon Q only offers responses that are based on the enterprise data. Second, Amazon Q administrators can provide guardrails that can restrict certain topics, sentences, or words. And the out-of-the-box pre-built guardrails for toxicity are already deployed with Amazon Q, and you can also add to them to restrict additional topics. Now, let me just go into the details of these 4 features I just mentioned. First, we have the default guardrails for Amazon Q that protect such topics like profanity or hate speech or sexual content, among others. But also, Amazon Q has guardrails against implicit or explicit malicious intent, for example, discriminatory language or illegal activities. And it also restricts access to advice on such topics as medical, legal, political, or financial subjects. Second, Amazon Q can restrict responses to only answer from your company's data. So if you have this guardrail on, Amazon Q will only answer for your company's data. So for example, if you were to ask Q, what is the capital of Sweden? And you didn't have a document in your corpus that answered this question, then it would just come back and say, I don't have this information. I cannot answer this question for you. However, if you have opened and left this guardrail off, and Amazon Q is able to also leverage the large language model's world knowledge, then Amazon Q might answer, here is what I know, the capital of Sweden is Stockholm. Of course, in this case, it would not have a reference because it was not in your corpus. Now, the third part is you can also specify particularly blocked words or sentences. If there's a particular sensitive subject you don't want to come out in the answers. This can be, for example, the name of an upcoming feature or product that you want to keep top secret. So you can make sure that any answer asked to Amazon Q, even if a document was incorrectly filed, is not returned. And the fourth topic is that you can enable Amazon Q administrators to also provide canned responses or handle different topics according to the user persona. Now, imagine I'm a seller at your company, and I have some concerns, and I ask the question, what are the security vulnerability of our platform? Maybe it's something that came up in a customer meeting. Then what would happen for a regular seller is probably that I would get a canned response provided by Amazon Q with maybe a link to basic documentation and a link to the security team. However, what happens if I'm a member of the security team and I ask this information? Then I need access to the full documentation, to additional projects, and to additional documents. And Amazon Q can handle that according to the persona, what information they have access, and what topics, and how they're handled. Now, there are three new security features now that Amazon Q is generally available. The first is that you can now use private link to access Amazon Q securely from within your virtual private cloud environment via using a VPC endpoint. The second is that Amazon Q is securely connected to your IAM identity center so that you can manage your workforce in access to the application. And third, Amazon Q Business is now integrated with AWS CloudTrail, so you can have a complete log of what your users, roles, other services, or are doing with Amazon Q. Now let's go back to our end user. Employees always work across multiple applications. So a single activity can be, let me retrieve some information, then let me summarize it, and then let me open a ticket for a further downstream work. So before I talked about the connectors that allow you to bring the data into Amazon Q. Now we also have Amazon Q plugins that allow you to connect to other applications from within Amazon Q. So Amazon Q can execute actions like creating tickets in Jira, Salesforce, ServiceNow, and Zendesk. You can simply say, Q, summarize a conversation and create a ticket. And Q will pre-populate the ticket so you can review it, maybe make a few minor modifications, and then click Create, and it's ready to go to your Jira system. But that's not all. Amazon Q has a new feature, which is the ability to create your own custom plugins. These allowed users to access this information in enterprise system using natural language, the same way you would interact with Amazon Q. And this can help you, for example, to update your calendar, or fill out meeting notes, or manage additional sales information. You can integrate with applications such as Vanguard, ADP, Microsoft Dynamics 365, and MS Office Exchange. Sounds good so far? Now let me tell you about an additional capability of Amazon Q to help your employees even further. Amazon Q Apps, now in preview, is a feature of Amazon Q that enables your employee to create applications in the secure environment that can be highly customized without writing a single line of code. In this example, we have a simple application where I can provide the name of a company, and the product name, and the name of the account manager, and then I can provide a sample of a template of an email or an email I have used before, and then ask Amazon Q to create the new email. But not only that, also after that, file the Jira ticket to record that this email has been sent in the customer information. But how did we get there? How did we build that app? There is 2 different ways to create apps in Amazon Q. And the first one is to extract it directly from the conversation. Let's imagine I'm again that seller that I mentioned before. I come into work and I realize, all right, I need to know more about this customer, put in the customer name, have some questions. Then I add, OK, this is a product that they might be interested in. And then I say, please write me an email. Here is an example of a good email. And then, and after I send the email, let me just log that in Jira. And then I realize I'm going to have to do exactly the same thing for my next customer. And here is where the magic happens. I just say, Q, please create an application from this. And it will take the conversation and create the app. But if I don't follow this workflow and I come already with my idea of what an application could look like, here is the second way you can create applications with Amazon Q. You can literally fill it in as natural language text. You can say in Amazon Q will automatically, from your description, create this application. So creation of applications becomes very intuitive and becomes available to all your employees, regardless of their ability to code, in a very quick and intuitive manner. Now, in this example, you can ask things like telling Amazon Q that they're an expert at writing customer stories for a marketing website. If they're given a customer name, then in a business impact, they should create a 1,000-word customer success story narrative, and it should cover the customer mission and structure of the story based on past examples. Now, once Amazon Q creates the application, it is ready for you to use. You can use it right away. But maybe you want to further modify it, you want to edit it, you can do that as well in the application. But not only that. Now I mentioned this is the workflow for one seller who is calling customers and trying to write email. But this is the same probably for a lot of sellers in the same organization. So Amazon Q now also has the ability that once you have built this simple app, you can also publish it to the Amazon Q library, Q Apps library. And it is available then for all your other employees that have access to the web application. And anybody who can go and browse this application can have access to the apps that other members of the team have created. And this can help also encourage to have a consistent standard and efficient use. But also, every person can then grab an app and say, I want to copy this app, and then modify it and further customize it for their own use. And they might even publish it again to the library with a different title, because now it's doing a slightly different use case. Now, we wanted to give our customers the biggest flexibility when using Amazon Q. And this is why we have 2 different pricing tiers and subscription for Amazon Q. The first one is Amazon Q Business Lite. The second one, Amazon Q Business Pro. Amazon Q Business Lite offers the capability to ask questions from Amazon Q and retrieve the information with the sources. And this is a way for you to increase the productivity of all your employees at a lower price. And then you have Amazon Q Business Pro, which uses all the different capabilities of Q that I have mentioned before, including the ability to generate additional content, to interact with other systems using plugins, and to access Amazon Q apps. And with that, I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Deba, who will show us some demos so you can see Amazon Q in action. Welcome, Deba.
Thanks, Anna. Before I start showing you different features of Amazon Q, I really want to understand from you, how many of you have built a retrieval augmented generation application? OK. So we're going to do the same. During this session, we will build a conversational chatbot pointing to a knowledge base using Amazon Q Web Console. and we will see how easy it is to build a digital assistant for your organization just by few clicks. We talked about, we'll see an end-to-end experience, both from an end user perspective and from an admin perspective, and we will see that how that entire experience looks like. And I talked about different persona. So let's take one of those persona and see the product in action. So imagine you are a sales manager and you inherited a new customer and account from your colleague, and you're working for a SaaS company which provides software in the tax and the accounting domain. You want to know a little bit about your customer, what exactly they do, what is their journey looks like. So you decided that, let me use Amazon Q for this. Let's see how that interaction goes. So you're asking your first question, what exactly the customer do? Amazon Q is taking your question and giving it a response that, hey, the company is started in 1975, it has 50,000 employees, and is also providing the source attribution. For the very first time, you're using Amazon Q. So you want to make sure that the information is correct. So you went back and verified that the information is correct. It looks pretty okay, so you move on, and you started asking the next questions. That why they're interested in our product, what exactly they're looking for. And in this particular scenario, Amazon Q is providing information from multiple documents. And it's also providing in which line comes from which documents. And again, you want to verify the facts. You went ahead, a little bit did a cross-verifications that they're looking something for in a cloud-native applications, want to modernize their stack. That's exactly the reason for their lookout. Now you're asking a very important question, and also now this time asking that, list me in a bulleted points, who are the stakeholders? Amazon Q responded that these are the stakeholders with whom you should go and carry out some meaningful conversations. And then you're asking, what is the current state of the engagement model? Where exactly they're in the journey? Amazon Q responded, they already carried out a successful proof of concept, and they use a $10,000 credit. It's a crucial number. You just want to make sure that the number is correct. Now you have enough information about the customer. At this point in time, you decided that, let me set up a meeting with the customer and take this discussion forward. Let's see how that discussion goes during the meeting, and how can you use Amazon Q during the meeting also. So during the meeting, a new question came up. You are not very sure about which language the product support. So you decided that, okay, let me ask Amazon Q what tax and accounting product, what kind of a language it supports. Amazon Q responded that it supports 37 languages, and in a comma-separated list of answers, it's provided all the response. Then you're asking a next question that where exactly this tax and accounting products are hosted. It's providing all the countries where this product is hosted. At this point in time, everyone seems very happy in the meeting. It goes to the next phase that can you now draft a statement of work, a contract. We are interested in your product. We want to get into a 5 years commitment for 500 users. Could you tell me how that pricing is going to look like? Amazon Q did a quick math that 500 users, $100 licensing fees for 12 years. This is how it looks like. If you want to, but we have a discount table. So we go back, we're going to do some discounts, and this is how the final number looks like. Discussion goes well. At this point in time, you also want to take certain actions. Yeah? You decided that I'm going to create a Jira ticket and send that Jira ticket to my sales ops teams so that they can start drafting the first version of the contract. So now you're creating the Jira ticket, assigning to the right team, and all the description of the ticket is summarized by the language model, summarized by Amazon Q, and you just provided who is the requester and hit a create button, and the ticket is sent to the sales ops teams. At this point in time, you also decided that let me summarize the entire information and send this to the entire stakeholders so that everyone on the top of the information that what goes in this meeting. And Amazon Q exactly did that. It summarized all the information and sent an email to all the stakeholders. Let's go to a second scenario. Same person want to use Amazon Q in a slightly in a different context. The sales manager the manager of the sales manager asked him to create a quarterly sales report. So what the sales manager is now doing is uploading in a sales report. He's not very sure about what exactly in the sales file. So he's asking the questions, could you please tell me what is inside the sales file? Amazon Q is analyzing that. It has the sales figure for the January to October of 2023, and it has this list of columns. Then he's asking a question that what is the revenue looks like. It's providing an answer that revenue is slightly missing the target, and this is how the revenue figure looks like. Then we're asking a question that, can you please write a narrative for me so that I can go ahead and create a draft report? Now at this stage of the process, Amazon Q is updating the narrative and creating a narrative for that. Now, you also want to ask some tricky question that could you please tell me how the revenue number looks like for the high-touch customers and the self-serve customers, and go ahead and change the narrative. It is going ahead and changing the narrative that the sales figure looks like this, and the split between the high-touch customers and self-serve customers is 57% and 43%. Yeah? This is the default web experience of Amazon Q. But when we speak to you, when we speak to different customers across the globe, we get a very common question that how can we integrate Amazon Q into our backend, yeah, into our communications portal. We want Amazon Q to meet where our employees are. Our employees are using Slack. Our employees are using Teams, or they are using any other development portal. How can we integrate Amazon Q in Slack or any other communication platforms? Let's see how that interactions looks like. So imagine a situation, Bob is developing in a microservice architecture. Someone told Bob that DynamoDB will be the right fit and will be a good NoSQL database. Bob decided to use Amazon Q to get a little bit more information about what exactly DynamoDB is. And he's asking a question that, what is DynamoDB? Amazon Q giving a response that it's a fully managed, it's a multi-region, it's a NoSQL database from AWS. Then Bob is asking the next question, is it fast and how fast it is? Amazon Q giving a response that it provides a millisecond response. Slack has a unique feature where you can create a channel and you can invite multiple people to the channel. You can now invite Amazon Q to the channel as a trusted advisor and seek guidance from Amazon Q. Let's see how that interaction goes. Imagine a situation, Bob and Gary is working to build a real-time analytical platform on social media data. They're discussing about the choice of tech stack and see how that interaction goes. So Bob is asking a question that if I want to build a real-time analytics platform, what should be the right technology choice? Should I use SQS or I should use Kinesis? Bob is not extremely sure, giving the response that maybe SQS, I'm not sure. Then Gary is asking the next question, should I use first in, first out, or should I use a different configurations? Now Gary is thinking, I'm not sure at all, let me ask Amazon Q. At this stage, Amazon Q has all the context, what's going on between Gary and Bob, what exactly they're discussing. Amazon Q is analyzing the response and providing that in this scenario, Kinesis will be the right fit. We use SQS for event-driven architecture, but Kinesis will be the right choice for this particular technology. Now, Bob is asking that, could you please summarize all the entire informations and create an action item for me so that I will go back and read a little bit about it, and so that come up with an user stories and action items, how to take this forward. This is exactly what Amazon Q is summarizing the entire conversation. This is what the end user experience looks like in Amazon Q. Now let's little bit switch the context. Let's see what it really takes to build an experience like this. In Amazon Q, we can create an applications. Imagine application is nothing but a logical construct. You can create an applications for a team, for a particular project, or a particular line of business. And you start with filling some basic informations, like what is the application name, what is the service name so that queue can take certain action. Once you fill out all this basic information, then you hit the create button, which will take approximately 30 to 45 seconds to create these applications. Once you create the applications, we talked about connectors. So you can bring 40 plus connectors and bring data to Amazon Q. In this particular situations, we are using S3 as a connector. Again, you start filling out some basic informations, like what is an S3 data source name, what is the IAM role I should give so that we can fetch the informations. After that, you select the S3 bucket, and once you selected the S3 bucket, there is something in advanced settings we can do is called identity crawling. You can decide who can access what. What we normally call is access control list. You can define there that all the HR documents could be accessed by the HR team, all the marketing documents could be accessed by the marketing team. Once that you define everything in the ACL, and you define now a sync strategy, how the data will be synced, then you create the data source. And so at this stage, you create an application, you create a data source, and your application is pretty much ready. We talked about 40 plus connector. So these are some of the popular connectors that we support out of the box. And the way we configure S3 to bring the data is a fairly similar user experience and UI and UX. You can provide all the basic informations and bring the data. So once you bring the data to Amazon Q, you just make sure that your application is ready, your data is connected to the applications, then you can decide to sync your data. So at this stage, actually your data is moved from S3, it's been chunked, and it's stored in Amazon Q index. So you're now syncing the data. Once the sync is complete, it depends upon the volume of the data you have in your source systems. Then you can go back to the default web experience that we saw. You can use that default web experience to start using it and testing it. Once the application is ready, now you can integrate this with your identity provider so that you can propagate to across all your business and all your employees start using single sign-on to access this data. So let me summarize. So what we saw today. So number one, we saw how easy it is to use Amazon Q using the web experience that comes with the product. So you not only can engage in a multi-turn conversations, you can also create certain actions, like summarize the ticket, create a Jira tickets or ServiceNow tickets. Second, we also saw how can we integrate Amazon Q in Slack and Teams or any popular development portal like Backstage. Third, we saw how easy it is to build an application, create a digital assistant for your organizations just by few clicks. With that, I'm going to hand over again to Anna to talk some customer stories. Thank you.
Thank you, Deba. Those were some good demos we just saw. And now I'm going to talk to you about some Amazon customers that have used Amazon Q. Now, the first one is a Smartsheet. They faced the challenge that they had 3,300 employees, and they were struggling to find the right information across multiple public documents, courses, and hundreds of different Slack channels that had their help information. This made knowledge management a real time-consuming task and very difficult for them to achieve. To solve this, Smartsheet implemented Amazon Q Business in order to streamline their knowledge management and accelerate employee productivity. The first thing the employees can now do is they can just tag in Slack @AskMe and ask a question of Q directly. And this means that Q can provide the answer instantly. They also consolidated all the organizational data into Amazon Q so that all the employees can access the data that they are interested in. And also, even the engineering team also now uses Amazon Q to summarize incident reports, identify action items, look up the documentation, and even to troubleshoot more efficiently. This had a big impact in Smartsheet. It first significantly boosted the employee productivity because it provided the instant access to the information that all the employees needed. Second, it even enabled the CEO to go and ask questions and do research without interrupting the workflow of his employees. They were able to very rapidly integrate Amazon Q into their operation in just a couple of weeks, and they did not do any custom code development. And they were still able to keep any existing security and access controls. And finally, this allowed the engineering team to have more streamlined way of working, which allowed them to focus more on the product in order to provide a better experience. Now, let me talk about another customer, the RIF. And the RIF had a challenge with time-consuming and resource-intensive employee onboarding and recruitment efforts. To solve this, they implemented Amazon Q Business, which they allowed them to leverage generative AI capabilities while ensuring data security and access control. In this case, they used the built-in guardrails and our access control list provided by Amazon Q to make sure that their employees had access to the sensitive data securely and safely. This had the following impact. It first reduced the employee onboarding time by up to 45%. And it reduced the overall recruiting effort by as much as 50%. This also allowed them to have a safe and controlled availability of generative AI capabilities for all their employees. And one of the things they mentioned is that they were surprised of how easy it was to implement and use Amazon Q, because their previous perspective was that using AI was difficult. Now, let me just very quickly reiterate the 4 use cases which Amazon Q can boost your employee productivity. The first one is it provides a unified conversational interface to access all your data for all your employees. It can also help automate and simplify routine tasks, such as extracting data and insights. It can accelerate content creation, such as writing emails or creating documents. And it can increase productivity by enabling your employees to create secure and simple applications without writing any code, and also able to connect to, through plugins to other applications. The top reasons Amazon Q is the right AI assistance for your business are as follows. First, the unified conversational experience that I just summarized. Second, the different pricing tiers, Amazon Q Lite, Amazon Q Business Pro, that allows you to use Q as makes sense for your organization. And number 3, Amazon Q has a lot of built-in security that makes sure your users can only access the data they're allowed to see, as well as being integrated with the AWS services you already use today. Now, if you are ready to get started with Amazon Q, here are some resources I recommend to you. The first one is the Amazon Q in the AWS console. The second is the Amazon Q website, which has a lot of general information. And if you are ready to start cracking, you can go directly to the developer guide. Now, if you want to continue to expand your skills, you can go to Skill Builder at AWS and explore over 600 free digital courses, as well as hands-on labs and role-based games. And if you haven't done so already, I would ask you to please download the AWS Events mobile app and fill out the 1-minute survey for the session. This is the QR code to the app, because with your feedback is how we can continue to offer you the sessions you love at this type of events. On behalf of Deva and myself, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your summit.